Hi everyone. Happy Valentine's Day. I hope you're having a a wonderful night with your loved ones, just as I am with mine. Um, all right, so where do I begin? I wanted to give an update. I've been wanting to give an update for the last maybe week or so, but I haven't been able to. And I'll get into a little bit why. But I want you to know that I'm doing okay. I'm doing well. The good news is that, as best as I know, all the chemo treatment that I need to go through for the first round is now finally over. I've passed that. I've gotten through that stage. Although, based off what I've heard when I go to New York, and I'll get into a little bit more detail of that too, um, the very first thing I'll have to do when I go there is another round of chemo. But um, at least I can consider part one of two to be complete, and I'm very happy about that. I won't have to, as far as I know, again, I try to speak carefully here because I don't want to jinx anything. As far as I know, I won't have to go back to Hartford Hospital to get more chemo treatment. That's over with. So I'm very thankful for that. Um, there were a lot of people that are there are a lot of people that are watching this video right now that had a hand in helping me get through that part, and I'm very appreciative of it. So it's been a while since I've done a video. I realized that. So let me kind of start as back as far as I can. I checked into the hospital January 31st to get my last round of chemo treatment. That was the second part B that I was going to go through. Um, the first time I did that treatment, I got really sick while in the hospital, and it was kind of rough on me. This time around, they upped up my anti-nausea medicine, and while I was in the hospital, I did just fine. They gave me a lot of fluids. I handled it much better this time around than I did the last time, so I was thankful for that. I checked out of the hospital February 3rd, which, if I'm not mistaken, was a Saturday. Feeling okay, although I was nervous a little bit about leaving the hospital, because it seems like every time I leave the hospital, once I do, the next days are without the fluids, without the constant medication, they can be a little rough. And this time was that way too. Saturday, the 4th, I wound up um, kind of middle of the day going back to the hospital. Uh, One of the things that they tell me to watch out for is if you get a fever, you have to come into the emergency room, just because my immune system's so low, I won't be able to fight off any viruses or bacteria that I might otherwise have been able to fight off. When I woke up in the morning, I was struggling a little bit, and I had a fever. I told Drew, and so we wound up going to the emergency room. They did a bunch of checks on me. Nothing was discovered. Nothing was found, and the first temperature they took when I got to the hospital was already back to normal. It's entirely possible that when I took my temperature at home that I got a false reading, but I'll never know, and I felt like crap anyway, so it wasn't like the worst idea going to the hospital, because I was pretty miserable. I couldn't get out of bed Saturday night or Sunday morning. Um, so I stayed in the hospital for till Tuesday. They gave me a lot of fluids, a lot of antibiotics. Um, no complications arose during that time, and I was checked out Tuesday, which, if I'm keeping track right, the 6th. Um, and every day since then, it's been a tiny improvement in energy, tiny improvement in what I can do. But I even went today to get my blood checked, and I've got my blood checked seemingly almost every day since I've been out. My counts still haven't recovered yet. Each time I've gone into the hospital, when I check out, like I said, it takes a little bit longer and a little bit longer and a little bit longer for my body to recover. So even to this day, right now, my red, white, and platelet count are still below where they want it to be. So far since the last time I was in the hospital, like I said, the 6th, I've received 4 different transfusions for either red blood cells or platelets. Um, like I said way back when, a lot of saying the word blood transfusion, it can, I guess, I don't know. Before I was going through all this, that sounded like a huge deal. It's really not. I just sit in a room with an IV in me, and it just lets the blood flow in, and you know, it's actually kind of boring, to be honest. So I've done that. I did that today. I got platelets today. I'm hoping I'm not too far away from getting back to where my own body produces enough, and we can go on, and I don't have to get any more transfusions. But that day still hasn't happened yet, so thinking it's in the next day or two, but we'll see. Having said that, I was supposed to go today to New York to meet my new doctor there. They gave me a new doctor because instead of doing an adult to an adult transfusion, I'm doing a cord blood transfusion, and there's a different specialist in New York for that. So I was supposed to go today, but because my counts are so low, they canceled that appointment, and now it's on February 28th. On February 28th, Drew and I will start the next part of this process, which is we're going to meet with the cord blood transfusion doctor specialist. Her name is Dr. Baker. The other thing that we're going to do, two important things, which are a PET scan and a bone marrow biopsy. Back when I first was diagnosed with everything, they did a bone marrow biopsy on me, and that's where they found a lot of lymphoma and leukemia type cells. I actually found out in the last week or two that I was, based off what the doctor was telling me, I was confused. I thought part of my diagnosis was leukemia. It turns out that it's not. One of the things that I have is called a myeloproliferative disorder. That was actually the very first thing that happened in my body. That mutation in my stem cells eventually led to having the lymphoma take rise in my body. Leukemia is not really a big part of what's going on. It's something that, if not taken care of, could turn into an issue for me. So they're watchful of it, but my original thought of having leukemia be an actual problem isn't really the case. Now that doesn't change the treatment. My understanding of it at first was not completely accurate. So, sorry. Hold on. Come on, you're getting in the way. Where was I? Okay, so the root cause of what is going on with me, the disorder is called myeloproliferative. So that's what they're trying to treat with the stem cell transplant. So when I go on the 28th, what they'll do, like I said, is a bone marrow biopsy, and they'll do a PET scan. The reason for doing those is to see how effective the chemo I've already gone through is how effective it's been, and also the medications I've been taking in the process. Because there's a special type of drug that is supposed to repair my stem cells back to somewhat of a normal state, even though it's not a fix-all. It's just meant to, in the short term, take care of the problems so that they can then go in and do the stem cell transplant. So I'll go in on the 28th to New York, assuming my blood counts have recovered by then, which I imagine that they will, and I'll be given far more detail, I presume, in that meeting. But then about a week later is when they'll get the results back from those tests, and I'll find out if the lymphoma in my body has significantly reduced, which I'm hopeful of, and if the repair of the stem cells has kind of started already. So once that happens, a week after that, I'll get those results, and then that's really when I'll get a better sense of exactly what date I'm supposed to go to New York. Right now, it's kind of slated for second or third week of March. In the second or third week of March, I'll get checked in. I'll spend the very first week going through what probably is what I assume is going to maybe be the most difficult part of the whole process, which is I'll immediately go into a chemo a chemo regimen for the first 5 to 7, maybe even 10 days. I'll do that, and the purpose of doing that is to just absolutely, completely, physically wipe my immune system out. And then once that is done, the very next day or two, I'll be given the stem cell transplant. Based off a video I was given from Sloan, it sounds like to me that the stem cell transplant itself is only going to take at most a matter of hours. I figured, something like that would require like a surgery and this really super big deal, but apparently not. It's based on how it's described. It's not really all dissimilar from getting blood, where they put a port in me, the blood runs through me, and in that case, I'm given the new stem cells, and then I guess stem cells themselves are intelligent enough to go right to the bone marrow without having to do any kind of extra work from a doctor's point of view or something like that. So that's reassuring. So I'll go through that whole process. Afterwards, I'll spend probably around 4 weeks actually in the hospital. So hopefully maybe mid-April I'll be able to check out of the hospital, and then I'll go to the Hope Lodge, which is just down the road a little bit, a couple blocks away. And I'll spend anywhere from, I guess, 6 to 8 weeks in there. So I think what I'm looking at now is probably getting checked out of New York sometime maybe early June, if I'm lucky, maybe mid-June, if I did the math right. So it's somewhere like that. So that's where I'm at right now. I am feeling better. I just, at the current moment, switching gears a little bit, I'm waiting on my blood counts to recover. And that's where I'm at. Like, I've been wanting to for the last week or so to do this video, and I just haven't had the strength to do it. It's weird, because I used to do far more difficult things than just trying to do a stinking video. Has been tedious for some reason, but that's kind of how it is. I think that covers most of it. It kind of brings you up to date on what the last couple weeks have been for me, and where the next couple weeks are going to go. So, like I said, February 28th is the biggest day for me for now. That's when I learn the most. My doctors are confident that when they do all the tests, that they'll see a significant reduction in the lymphoma cells, the small amount of leukemia cells that they saw before, and a slight correction in the stem cells. So once I get that word, I'll be given the go-ahead to start the transplant. And that's really it. So thanks for all the text. Thanks for all the, hey, how you doing? Check up on you, that kind of thing. It really means a lot. I try to get information out as soon as I can. Like I said, sometimes it's difficult. But I really appreciate you guys. You got me through the first part of this, and now I'm trying to get through the second part. The video I watched, a lot of the patients that have gone through this have all described the stem cell day as day 0 and a happy day, because it's the day that starts their second half of their life over again. So I'm actually starting to feel some momentum, some positive momentum, that I'm getting through this, and that it doesn't seem like such a long tunnel anymore, that maybe there's a light at the end of it. I'm starting to kind of sense that. And there's a small part of me that's growing, that is excited about this transplant. Because when that day comes, although my immune system will be low and I'll have to fight off potential infections and sicknesses and so forth, and I'll be starting from scratch from my immune system, there's a small part of me that's growing and that's excited about that day. No more chemo. Even though there'll be low days, I can tell myself in that low moment that this is the last time I'll have to feel this, that each day I'll get a little stronger. So I'm very much looking forward to that. And like I said, I just appreciate everybody. I really do. Everyone that's kept up with me and shown me love or support, Drew in that matter, or my son. I'm really thankful. So, all right, I know I'm kind of babbling, so I'll let you go. just know I love you guys, and thank you very much. So take care.